Welcome to the deep dive. Everything of life not as a constant uphill battle, but, well, as a game.
Sounds a bit out there, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But back in 1925, Florence Scovel Shinn proposed exactly that in her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. Her idea was pretty revolutionary for the time. Life has rules based on spiritual laws.
Exactly. And today we're going to take a deep dive into those core principles. And really importantly for you listening, we're going to explore how you can, dust off these ideas and actually apply them today for real success.
Think of it like finding some surprisingly relevant life hacks hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Absolutely. Now, let's be honest. Some of the language,
Yeah,
it feels a bit dated, right? Like stepping into a time machine.
it definitely has that 1920s vibe, yeah.
But trust us on this. The underlying insights, they're incredibly powerful. You might get some real aha moments.
Definitely. The core ideas are still so relevant.
Okay, so where do we start? Let's kick off with a really fundamental rule, the law of giving and receiving.
This is the bedrock, really. Shinn quotes that timeless idea, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." It's basically cause and effect.
Pure cause and effect.
Right.
What you put out, whether it's words, actions, even feelings.
It comes back. The universe sort of keeps a tally.
She lays it out so plainly, too. Send out hate, you get hate back. Give love, love returns.
Criticism attracts criticism. Lying leads to being lied to. It's like life holding up a mirror.
Seriously.
Right.
And this isn't just some, abstract spiritual thing. Think about today.
Right. Online interactions, how you are at work, in your community.
Everywhere. You're constantly sowing seeds in all those places. Are you planting positivity? Honesty.
Because, well, according to this law, that's what you should expect to harvest. It's about building that positive personal and professional brand.
So being generous, having integrity, making real connections, it's not just nice, it's strategic. You're basically creating a magnet for good stuff.
Precisely. You're setting the cause for the effect you want.
Okay, that makes sense. Next up, let's talk about the power of imagination. This one's fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. Shinn argues that our imaging faculty plays a leading part in the game of life. She even quotes Proverbs. Keep thy heart, or imagination, with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life.
Wow. So the idea is what you consistently picture really vividly.
It tends to show up in your reality. Your imagination is like the architect drawing the blueprints for your life.
And she shares that pretty intense story, doesn't she? About the man terrified of a rare disease.
Yeah, he obsessed over it, pictured it constantly, and tragically, he actually manifested it.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it? How powerful our mental pictures can be.
It really is. It highlights why we need to be the director of our own inner movies, so to speak, if we let fear run the show.
We were scripting what we don't want.
Exactly. Shinn says we need to actively train our imagination. Focus on the good stuff, health, abundance, love, finding your purpose.
This connects so clearly to modern goal setting, visualization techniques, all that.
Totally. Clearly picturing success, using positive self-talk. It paves the way. You create the mental blueprint first.
Right. Okay, so let's get into Shinn's model of the mind. She talks about 3 departments.
Yeah, the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. So subconscious. Think of it as pure power, but crucially without direction, like a giant engine idling.
Okay, and it gets impressed by what?
Deep feelings and clear mental images. That's what Shinn says really sinks in there.
Like that unsettling example she gives, the child who pretended to be a widow.
That vivid imagining, even in childhood play, somehow imprinted and, well, manifested later in life. It shows the subconscious doesn't judge, it just absorbs and reflects.
Okay, so that's the conscious. Then there's the conscious mind.
Right, what Shinn calls the mortal or carnal mind, our everyday awareness. This is the part that often sees limits, worries about lack, sickness.
And it can accidentally impress those negative things onto the subconscious.
Exactly. It sees the problem, feels the fear, and boom, imprint made.
Got it. And the third one, the superconscious.
This is the exciting part. Shinn equates this to the God mind within us, the source of perfect ideas, your higher self, intuition, whatever term resonates.
So it holds, like the perfect blueprint for our life.
Yeah.
Our potential.
Precisely. Your divine design, she calls it. It holds the perfect pattern. And interestingly, she suggests these possibilities often flash into our minds as ideas that seem almost
Too good to be true.
Yeah, that exact feeling. But she believes that's actually your true destiny calling, bubbling up from that infinite intelligence.
That makes sense. That little whisper of something amazing that feels just out of reach sometimes.
And Shinn encourages us to tap into that superconscious through intuition, aligning what we want with what feels like our divine right, our deeper purpose.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, that's the journey, isn't it? Listening to that inner voice, those nudges, and maybe most importantly, starting to believe you actually deserve that too good to be true vision.
Believing you're worthy of it. Okay, let's shift to something really concrete now. The power of the spoken word.
Yes, a huge pillar in her work. She quotes Jesus again. By your words ye are justified, and by your words ye are condemned.
So our words aren't just noise, they have actual power, like seeds.
That's exactly her point. They shape our reality. And she gives some striking examples. The woman always saying she was sick and tired and wished she lived in a trunk.
Ended up impoverished. Her words painted her reality.
Right. Or the person joking about ending up in the poorhouse who then actually became destitute. It shows the subconscious takes our words really literally, even jokes.
But it works both ways, thankfully. What about the positive examples?
Absolutely. The story of the woman with only $8 who was told to bless it. That simple act of positive affirmation, speaking words of increase.
Led to unexpected money coming in, right?
Exactly. It connects directly to using positive affirmations today. Being mindful of our language, our self-talk, and what we say out loud. Choosing words that support our goals.
Recognizing our words are creative forces. Okay, let's talk about prosperity and this idea of active faith.
Okay. Shinn's core message here is that our supply, our source for everything, is infinite intelligence, or God. And we tap into that supply through our spoken word. But,
Perfect faith is necessary. Unwavering belief.
yes, it's not just wishing, it's acting as if it's already on its way. Like that story about the woman needing $3,000.
She was told to act rich, even before the money showed up.
To demonstrate that inner certainty, that active faith, prepare for the good you desire.
Like digging ditches before the rain comes. That analogy she used.
Exactly. Taking tangible steps in anticipation, even if it seems illogical based on current evidence. It's preparing the ground.
And the woman needing an apartment during a shortage,
Yeah.
she went out and bought new blankets.
Yes. Preparing for her new home, acting with complete confidence she'd find one. That's active faith.
And she stresses holding the vision, doesn't she? Even when things look bleak. Like the Israelites doubting, or Jesus seeing the harvest before it was ready.
Right. Maintaining that inner conviction, no matter what the outer world says. And that story about the man needing the $50,000 loan.
Yeah, controlling himself, staying calm under pressure, and the power of collective belief, if two of you shall agree.
It all ties together. So today, active faith means taking those proactive steps towards your goals, even small ones, while holding that positive expectancy, aligning actions with the vision.
Okay. Now, let's get into a potentially tricky one. The law of non-resistance.
Yeah, this can feel counterintuitive. Resist not evil. Shinn's take is that evil isn't some separate power, but arises from believing in two powers, good and evil, instead of just one ultimate power, God.
So resisting something actually gives it power.
That's the idea. She uses that Chinese analogy of water, the most powerful element, because it just flows, it doesn't resist, it yields and overcomes.
So fighting against a negative situation just keeps it stuck.
Pretty much. It energizes it. Remember the story of the woman on the ladder?
Her fears seemed to create the problem, right? And when she decided not to resist, just walk forward.
The ladder was gone. Suggests our resistance, our fear, can be the very thing holding the obstacle in place.
Wow. And she talks about watching our words, too, avoiding those negative gossip sessions.
Those old-fashioned chats filled with complaints. She points out, what you say about others tends to boomerang back to you.
And the woman healed of the skin disease.
How? By overcoming deep-seated hatred. Releasing that inner resistance, that negative emotion, allowed healing.
And she also has that interesting idea of baptizing events, even failures, as success, like a perspective shift.
Exactly. It's a form of non-resistance. Finding the good, the lesson, even in difficulty. Like the woman whose difficult business contact turned out to be the key to prosperity. What looked bad was actually good.
And resistance keeps a pattern going, like the woman who ended up with a partner just like her difficult mother because she was resisting that pattern so hard.
That's a powerful illustration, yeah. What you resist persists. So, applying this today, it's about emotional regulation, letting go of control, trusting the process.
Living in the present. Look well to this day, that advice.
Yes. And the woman worried about Christmas gifts, who acted in faith now by buying tinsel. And the money appeared. It's about present moment, focus, and trust.
Okay. Let's move to karma and forgiveness. They seem linked.
Very much so. Karma, Shinn says, is basically the law of giving and receiving over time, the boomerang. Whatsoever a man soweth.
Our thoughts, words, actions, they all come back around.
Right. That story about her friend and the ant shows it almost instantly. A flash of irritation comes right back, and she notes, the more you know these laws.
The look for the feedback loop. Greater responsibility.
Yeah. And importantly, she clarifies it's the impersonal law bringing consequences. Not a vengeful God. God, or the divine, sees our perfect potential.
Which ties into asking a right. Only asking for what's truly yours by divine right. Not forcing things with personal will. Like the warning about the house bought through force.
Yes, that didn't end well. It wasn't aligned. Contrast that with the mother letting go of fear for her daughter's trip, trusting a higher wisdom.
And that story about the counterfeit bill.
Yeah.
How did forgiveness help there?
By forgiving the situation, blessing everyone involved, she neutralized the negativity. It invoked a higher law, dissolving the potential bad karma.
And this idea of being rich in consciousness first. Like the woman tidying her home before money came.
Yeah, creating the inner state attracts the outer reality. And she talks about circulation, giving, and spending wisely increases flow, while hoarding leads to loss, like the fur coat or Thanksgiving dinner examples.
And the woman who bought the toy for her nephew first, then found the money.
Another example of acting in faith, trusting the flow. But then she introduces the law of grace, or forgiveness.
Which is like a higher law that can override karma.
Exactly. It transcends the strict cause and effect. It's about freedom from past mistakes, receiving good you maybe didn't earn in a karmic sense. It's incredibly liberating.
So forgiveness of self and others lets us move forward without being weighed down. Makes sense. Okay, finally, casting the burden. What's this about?
Shinn presents this as a really practical way to impress the subconscious with good, because just knowing this stuff intellectually isn't enough, right?
Right. You have to get it into that deeper level.
So she says our burdens, lack, resentment, fear are just adverse thoughts stuck in the subconscious, like gravity holding things down.
And it's hard to just tell the subconscious to change using our conscious mind.
Very hard. The conscious mind doubts, argues. So she suggests casting the burden on the Christ within the superconscious, basically handing over the problem to your higher self.
Through affirmations like, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within and I go free to have plenty.
Exactly. She gives examples, the person needing money, the student needing to move the heavy piano, the woman releasing resentment. They use specific affirmations to transfer the burden.
And repetition is key, like playing a new record over the old one.
Constant, faithful repetition. It impresses the new pattern. And she says this process clears your vision too, releasing doubts and fears that cloud judgment.
But it's not just affirmations, right? Active faith still matters.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand.
Yep.
Like Jesus telling the crowd to prepare before the loaves and fishes miracle. Or that poignant story of the separated woman.
Setting a place at the table for her husband every day. Wow, that's commitment.
That's unwavering, active faith alongside the inner work. Shinn also mentions using music, movement things that bypass the conscious mind to impress the subconscious.
And not dismissing small signs, signs of land, like a cracked plate meaning something.
Yes, recognizing those subtle confirmations that things are moving in the right direction. Don't despise the day of small things.
And this idea of making believe, acting as if, like the poor woman who focused on beauty and abundance.
Another powerful technique, acting as if sends a strong message to the subconscious. Basically, fear is just energy pointed the wrong way. It needs to be transmuted into faith.
Her advice, walk up to the thing you fear, confront it.
And overcoming the fear of letting money go often leads to more flow. Sometimes, she says, you need a big jolt, a dynamite situation to break old false beliefs.
So we need to constantly check, am I acting from fear or from faith?
That's the core question. And she even applies this to fears about personality or health, saying we attract what we fear, but faith creates a kind of immunity, a positive vibration.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have. So just to bring it all together, we've looked at the power of our thoughts, our words, our imagination, the necessity of active faith, the wisdom in non-resistance, and the freedom found in forgiveness. All these principles from Shinn's work.
And that core idea really sticks with me, that life can be seen as a game with rules we can learn and apply for, well, a better experience, more success, more well-being.
Absolutely. And the real excitement comes when you, listening, start to actively experiment with this stuff. Pay attention. Notice your thoughts, your words, your gut feelings, your reactions. See what happens.
Yeah, become your own observer. So here's a final thought to chew on. What old records, what limiting beliefs might be playing on repeat in your subconscious? What are you ready to maybe uh, smash?
And more importantly, what new empowering records, health, success, joy do you want to intentionally create and start playing instead?
How can you step into the game of life with more awareness, more intention? Starting right now. Something to think about.